Last night at the Vic Juba Theatre, the Lloydminster Youth Council swore in their 2021-22 members, a group looking to make a huge difference in the community this year.
We have several young people that have come forward and said they want to make a difference in our community. And how can we say no to that?
The 2021-22 Youth Council are a mix of returning and new members made up of students from across Lloydminster. Monday night was the first official night for the new executives, including Chair Riley Wood.
It's a huge honor. I am extremely honored and humbled, really. The fact that, my past council members had the trust in me to put me in this position is a huge responsibility. I'm so grateful for that. I am so excited to get this year started. I'm excited with now our new partnership with the city.
The Youth Council helps local organizations while also putting on events for the community. City Councillor Lorley Marin sees it as a great step for youth to take in the border city.
The Youth Council is our opportunity to invest in youth. And so I have seen for over 6 years, youth come in, sometimes they don't public speak, sometimes they're very shy, sometimes they have really grand ideas, and we'd be able to channel that and help them to really build their skills and knowledge to grow up great.
Last year, because of the pandemic, the Youth Council didn't have as many opportunities for events around the community. This year, they're hoping that changes and that they can bring residents together.
I know that last year when we had our drive-in, it really brought out, we had over 300 cars packed with people, and it was just so great to get the community out, get them together, get them outside, doing something. So I think that would definitely be a big goal for me personally, is just, after this crazy 2 years that we've had, to get the community together, be one community again.
The Youth Council is also in search of sponsors to help with the events they are planning to throw this year.
This year we're really looking at organizations and businesses to partner with the Lloydminster Youth Council to help these youth kind of realize their dreams and put on events and invest back into community. So if you have a business or an organization and you want to sponsor us or partner with us on events, please reach out.
For more information, visit the Lloydminster Youth Council's Facebook page. Baby and Me Matinees are returning to the May cinemas throughout October. The movies will be kid-friendly, and the theaters will have raised lights, a lowered volume, and stroller parking for parents.
We saw the demand for it, and people have responded in kind, and it's been a great program for us. And now that we're getting some more movies, because there was a lot delayed because of COVID, we're able to put on more and more of these events.
May Cinemas hopes to hold 2 Baby and Me matinees per month, but say it will also depend on what movies they have to show.
We actually have one planned for Wednesday, October 6th with Addams Family 2.
Ticket sales for the first show will open at 10:30, with the show starting at 11. Tickets will only be available to purchase in person at the theater. Now we go to Tate Laycraft, who has the details on the newest release from an award-winning Canadian author.
Today, my guest is a critically acclaimed multilinguist author who's here to talk the release of his newest novel. Sebastian de Castel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for referring to me as multilinguist, since I speak English and very bad French and 8 words of Dutch.
I'm just trying to give you some credit, but your new novel is being described as The Alchemist meets the Three Musketeers. So with those big shoes to fill, what can you tell people about The Way of Argosy?
So Way of the Argosy is a fantasy novel. It's set in a kind of fictional, magical Wild West about a young refugee on the run from basically a posse of war mages. She has no money, no power, no friends, but she's determined to fight back. And along the way, she meets one of the fabled Argosi, who are these kind of wandering, card-playing philosopher tricksters. And he offers to teach her the means to outwit her enemies. But the price might be more than she's willing to pay.
And this is the 7th entry in your Spellslinger Chronicles. So I just wanted to ask, when you started writing these novels, did you ever intend for it to turn to this big, expansive series?
I thought it was going to be, 24 books, maybe 25, something. No, truth be told, so this book is sort of, it's both the 7th book in the Spellslinger series, but it's actually the first book in its own series because it takes place before the events of Spellslinger. So for anyone who's never read Spellslinger, you can actually start with Way of the Argosy. When I started, it was a really weird thing. When you're a novelist, I'd had some success with The Greatcoats, which is a kind of adult swashbuckling fantasy series. And then I had started writing this other series called Spellslinger, and my agent was shopping it around. And I sort of went over the course of one weekend from one publisher saying kind of begrudgingly, well, I guess it's pretty good. We'll give you, a little bit of money, but we're not so sure. To all of a sudden another publisher saying, oh, no, we're going to give you a lot of money and we want 8 books. And so it went from like, well, we'll publish 1 and see how it goes to like, we're committing to 8 books and you're committing to 8 books. And by the way, we want 2 books a year. So, you're not taking a lot of vacations in that time. So I sort of knew it was happening, but I didn't really understand the scale of it at the time.
Then something I was laughing about just in preparation for this interview, I was doing a little bit of research on you yourself, and I found this little excerpt right here that I'll read off. Sebastian de Castell had just finished a degree in archaeology when he started work on his first dig. 4 hours later, he realized how much he actually hated archaeology and left to pursue a very focused career as a musician, interaction designer, fight choreographer, and more. So, with all that, I just wanted to ask for a little bit more depth on that story, maybe. Was it really that black and white for you, or what was that process like?
Well, like a lot of us, I think there's a particular Canadian phenomenon where you go to university and switch majors 20 times. Like I see a lot of Americans making fun of it, but then when I talk to Americans, it seems like they actually are, pretty focused. And almost every Canadian I know switched majors about a dozen times at least. I pretty much went for everything. Like I sort of went through every department. I kind of settled on archaeology when I realized I had mistakenly taken too many credits in archaeology, and I was either going to have to spend a whole other year or get my degree in archaeology with a minor in history. And that was back when the third Indiana Jones movie was coming out. And I remember a professor in the archaeology department when I was saying I was going to declare my major, he said, "So did you see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?" And I said, "Yep." And he said, "Yeah, that's what happens." With all the suitable warnings that that's not actually what the life is like. But then I was doing my technical practicum, and so I went to England. I got permission to go to a different day because usually in Canada you'll go on there's tons of archaeology in Canada, but it's usually kind of prehistoric archaeology. Almost all archaeology is sort of prehistoric in a way, but I was sort of interested in European archaeology. And so I got permission to go to Sutton Hoo, which is a pretty famous dig. Like when you see that sort of Viking looking helmet, that's often on the cover of archaeology books, that's from Sutton Hoo. But I went after everything was basically already dug up. And I got there and I wasn't feeling very well. And I kind of, suffered through the first couple of hours with my toothbrush in the dirt. And I was looking around at everybody who was happy and everybody who was miserable. And the happy people were all people who liked camping. And the unhappy people were like me and like everybody else who had gone to see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Then, before we close, just for people who might be keen on checking out some of your work, where can they go to learn more about Sebastian de Castell?
So the best place to find me is right at my website, which is www.decastell.com. So it's just DECASTELL.com. And Way of the Argosy, which just came out in North America a few days ago. And then in a couple of months, Follow the Argosy, the sequel follows up. So people who enjoy the book aren't going to have to wait forever to get the second book. And for fans of the Greatcoats, there's a new Greatcoat series starting early next year with Our Lady of Blades.
Now Shelby Clark will take a look at your Tuesday weather.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. Now taking our first look at your weather forecast. For here in the border city, we are sitting at 20 degrees with a mix of some sun and clouds. So it is a bit cloudier out there throughout most of the day earlier on, but the sun did decide to peek out behind those clouds and it did get a little bit warmer. So hopefully everyone is enjoying that nice weather today. Switching over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan, most are sitting at that 18 degree spot there, 19 in Bonnyville, while Cold Lake is sitting at 20 degrees as well as in Marwayne. Vermilion is at 20 degrees as well, 17 in Edmonton, and Lac La Biche is a bit cooler, sitting at 15 degrees, and Wainwright and Provost are at 19 and 21 degrees. Over on this end here, a bit warmer over on the Saskatchewan side, as you can see, 20 degrees in most places. Green Lake is at 24 degrees, so a lot warmer over there in Green Lake. St. Walburg is at 21, and Macklin is sitting at 20 degrees as well, and North Battleford is sitting at 23 degrees. And overnight tonight for North Battleford, they will be going down to a low of 7 degrees, so a little bit cooler there with a lot more cloudier skies. But tomorrow they will be warming back up to a high of 21 with a mix of some sun and cloud. Switching over to Cold Lake, overnight they will be going down to a low of 6 degrees there with a lot more cloudier skies as well. And tomorrow they will be warming up again to a high of 20 degrees, but we'll be seeing a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. And now switching over to our school day forecast for all the kids out there. Tomorrow they will be starting off a bit cooler at 7 degrees, so make sure they are wearing a nice jacket as they're heading to school there with a mix of some sun and cloud. But throughout the day they will warm up to 19 degrees by the time the school day is over, so it'll be a lot warmer as they're heading back home from school. And switching over to our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, Wednesday we are seeing a lot warmer day there with a high of 20 on Wednesday with a lot more sun there, so hopefully everybody will be enjoying that nice weather with a low of 6 degrees. Thursday we'll be seeing our warmest day with a high of 23 on Thursday with a lot more sun as well and not as much clouds in the sky with a low of 5 degrees on Thursday. And we'll be starting off this weekend warm as well on this weekend for a high of 21 on Friday with a mix of some sun and cloud and a low of 9 degrees. That's the first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break. Welcome back. A daily monitoring of cattle can now be done using artificial intelligence technology. Jillian Code has the story.
Today, I'm joined by Mocha Shmogelski. She is the CEO of One Cup AI. Mocha, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem.
So One Cup AI uses artificial intelligence to let producers know a little bit more details about their herds. What can you tell me about the AI Betsy that you guys have?
Well, Betsy is not just one AI. She's many AIs designed to each do something specific. So Betsy stands for Bovine Expert Tracking and Surveillance, and she is our cattle version of our livestock monitoring system. And she has up to 25 AIs in her pipeline. And she monitors everything from calving, estrus, activity, health, growth, and all doing it remotely, just using camera technology. And she also ties it back to an individual animal. So that's the core to our technology, is the ID portion. So she uses facial recognition, artificial intelligence, and identifies each individual cow and basically creates like a profile in your online portal for each of your cattle, where you can pull up information about what they've been doing, if they're pregnant or not, if they've had a calf, how many calves they've had, if they're super active, basically anything that you could see on your animals, Betsy can see too. So you can get as much or as little information about your cows as you want.
So would this be like an individual tracker on each animal or the multiple cameras to just keep track of the herd?
Basically, you would set up between 5 and 6 cameras is what we're finding is a good number right now to monitor about 1,000 animals. And so you'd set them up in places where the animals congregate. Lots of people really like the idea of using it for calving, and most people at least bring their heifers in to calve in the spring. So they'll set it up in the areas where their heifers are going to calve. So maybe a couple of cameras in the pen where the heifers are going to calve, and then at a watering hole or at a mineral block, dependent on where your animals go every day. And that usually gets us the majority of your animals so that you can monitor everyone.
And what type of information can farmers glean from this, say, in terms of sustainability or, just helping them become more efficient?
They can get basically any information that they want to get. So if they want to know how many of their animals have the median number of drinks per day, they can find that information out. But one of the key things that we're developing is phenotype tracking. So the automated collection and assessment of phenotypes on animals, which purebred herds do it now. And it's usually a little bit subjective because you're doing it on your own animals. You might not have the skill level, and you might really like one animal. So that animal might get a higher score than it should based on your bias towards that animal. So the unbiased scoring of the phenotypes on different attributes of the animal is going to be a game changer for commercial herds as well, because that information currently is not readily available to commercial producers. And that could change the entire a region or even the nation's sort of phenotype genetic output of animals across the country.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I'm wondering, would this technology be, feasible for someone who, say, has a smaller herd?
Yeah, so the idea behind Betsy and the technology is that we wanted to make it accessible to somebody who has 10 animals all the way up to somebody who has thousands of animals. So the cost per farm, it goes down exponentially once you have more numbers. It's on a scale, and the entry is very reasonable, $95 a month. So that can bring in even the smallest amount of animals in your farm and be able to monitor them and get the benefit of it.
And if producers are interested in, maybe getting a bit more information about this, where can they reach out?
So we're at onecup.ai online, and within there they can reach out to us, and I will at this point personally reach out back. But also if they want to sign up for our early adopter program, I'm happy to discuss with them how that could look at their ranch and if it's the right fit for them.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, Mocha, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
Have a great day.
Now we'll take a look at your agriculture prices for today. (1991), 3 decades ago, the USSR had begun to dissolve into 15 countries. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was the #1 movie, and locally, Rolling Green Fairways had their first summer of golf. The course celebrated 30 years in the border city this past weekend. Evan Kenny has more on the celebration.
The day started off with golfers trying to chip onto the 9th green and finished with a helicopter doing the same task. Rolling Green Fairways hosted their annual member guest tournament that included golf, a barbecue, and prizes.
We had a really fun 9-hole golf tournament celebrating our members, our sponsors, friends and family, to also culminate into what was our 30-year anniversary.
The real prize came later on when 250 golf balls would be dropped from a helicopter. The closest to the pin would win $5,000.
The guy that won, I don't know if you guys heard this earlier, but he's a member and he's participated in quite a few men's nights. About 4 weeks ago, he could have won over, I think, almost $3,000, but he chose not to pay to play in the game that he was playing that day, and so he lost that. And I think he was a bit upset about losing that, so he left early. And then he was also drawn to win a TV that night, but because he left early, he lost that. So he paid to play today, thankfully, so $50 earned him quite a return.
Walker is thankful for the support of the community over the past 30 years. Because of this, the course decided to support the community, giving the Lloydminster Minor Hockey Association $5,000.
It means a lot. It's overwhelming, actually, sometimes the support that we do get. We also feel very strongly about giving back to our community. Our entire family, the entire Walker family, has been involved with this community for a really long time. It means a lot. Our friends, our family are clearly here, as well as a lot of our members and sponsors, and that only comes from building those relationships through time.
So, what are the plans for the next 30 years at Rolling Green?
Well, we'll get through 10 and then hopefully retirement. I don't know.
Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
Now Shelby Clark will take a look at weather across Alberta and Saskatchewan. Thanks so much, Des. And yes, taking another look at your weather forecast, we will be starting with taking a look at temperatures across central Alberta and Saskatchewan here. Over on the Alberta side, most are sitting at that 16-degree mark there. Jasper is a little bit cooler. They're sitting at 12 degrees. Athabasca is at 17 degrees, and Edmonton is the warmest. They're sitting at 18 degrees. And over on this end here, Cold Lake is at that 19-degree mark, 20 in Meadow Lake, 20 in North Battleford as well, and 27 actually in Saskatoon, so a bit warmer over in these areas here, and 30 and 31 in Prince Albert and Melfort, so they've actually been reaching that 30-degree mark there, so a lot warmer. And now moving over to our northern region of the provinces, a couple degrees cooler in most spots here, as Uranium City is at 11 degrees, Stony Rapids is at 18 degrees, and Wollaston Lake is sitting at 14. South End and La Ronge are at 19 degrees. Flin Flon's a bit warmer, they're sitting at 23 degrees, and La Loche and Buffalo Narrows are sitting at 12 degrees. Over on this end here, 15 in Peace River and Grand Prairie there. Slave Lake and Fort McMurray are sitting at 13 degrees and 14 in High Level and Fort Chipewyan. And now switching over to our southern region of the provinces, they're still having the same temperatures there as what we're seeing over across central and more in the northern region there. 16 in Lethbridge, 16 as well in Calgary, and 18 in Coronation, and Medicine Hat is sitting at 20 degrees. Over on this end here, 20 degrees in Kindersley as well. Swift Current is sitting at 21 degrees, and actually most spots over here are in that 30-degree mark, so a lot warmer over in Yorkton and Moose Jaw, sitting at 31 degrees, and Regina is the warmest, sitting at actually 33, and Estevan is at 32 degrees. And now switching back across the region, we're going to be taking a look at temperatures overnight tonight, and we will be cooling down just a bit for our lows overnight, a couple degrees cooler there, while Meadow Lake will be seeing a low of 6 degrees, as well as in Pearceland. Isla Cross will be seeing the warmest there with a low of 9 degrees overnight. Bonnyville Paradise Hill will be seeing a low of 5 degrees, a low of 7 in Unity there, and a low of 3 and 4 in Provost, Murnum, and Wainwright. But most places will be seeing a little bit of cloud coverage overnight tonight, while Meadow Lake and Isla Cross will be seeing around a higher chance of some precipitation throughout the night. And now switching over to temperatures tomorrow, we will be seeing around the same temperatures of what we're seeing today across the region. Most will be ranging from around 19 to 21 degrees, well, except for in Edmonton and Isla Cross, it'll be a bit cooler there, seeing 17 degrees tomorrow for the temperatures. And ending off with our 7-day forecast for here in the Border City. Wednesday, we will be seeing a high of 20 degrees and a low of 6 degrees there with a lot more sun. Thursday, we'll be seeing our warmest there with a high of 23 and a lot less cloud coverage on Thursday. So it's going to be pretty warm on that day. And starting off the weekend, we'll be starting off with a nice warm temperature of a high of 21 with a lot more cloud coverage as well on Friday. But Saturday, we will be seeing a nicer day with a high of 21 as well, but seeing a lot more sun. And Sunday will end off this weekend with a high of 23 degrees there with a mix of some sun and cloud to end off nicely for that weekend. And leading into next week, we'll be seeing around the same temperatures with a high of 21 on Monday and a high of 23 on Tuesday. That is another look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome back to Pet Project, everybody. I'm joined once again, as always, with Becca Lawrence from the Lloydminster and Community SPCA. Becca, how is everything going over there this week?
We're doing really good. How are you?
Everything's good over here. So, we have a returning guest, which is nice to see, but also not nice to see because, you know, we obviously really want to get this special animal a home. So, why don't you kind of let the people know who we're showcasing again this week, Becca?
Yeah, so this week we're doing Ember again. So he's our happy-go-lucky bearded dragon here at the SPCA. And he's about 4.5 years old. and he enjoys being held. Like he does really good with that. I mean, I think he is a little antsy to get out and run around and everything. So he's got lots of energy still. He's a happy fella. His favorite things, I would say, are bell peppers. He loves his peppers, and crickets, obviously. But yeah, other than that, he's just kind of a laid back guy, and he's just really waiting for that forever home.
Yeah, and like you were saying, bearded dragons do seem to be like really chill lizards, right? Like they seem to be very, you know, kind of easy to take care of. They like attention, but not, you know, too much. They seem like a really good, I don't know if you'd say starter lizard. I don't know if that's a term, but we'll call it that. But yeah, wonderful. So, and obviously Ember had a bit of a tail infection earlier. And how's he doing?
Yes.
Obviously he's all healed up. He looks good. I've seen pictures of him on the SPCA, and he looks happy and healthy. So that all went well, obviously, his recovery?
Yeah, he had stitches for a little while, and we got them taken out probably about 10 days after his surgery, and it stayed healed up. So he just has a little bit of a shorter tail for life now, but just really adds to his personality already.
Wonderful. So if anybody out there is in the market for a bearded dragon, there's not a better one out there than Ember. Wonderful. So Becca, you guys have another event coming up this week, a little fundraiser, one that is very timely, you know, coming up on October here. So you guys have a pumpkin fundraiser. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Legacy DIY is doing their pumpkin fest on Friday. So it's from 4 to 8. And we're going to be hanging out with Dawn Interiors on her section of the street. And we might have a couple kittens with us that are going to be up for adoption. So we'll have their profiles there and everything like that. And if you are interested, we would potentially do an adoption that night as well. So we're really just there to be out with the community. We'll have our donation bin with us as well, too, if you want to bring anything. But yeah, other than that, we're just there to be hanging out with the community and kind of see what's Legacy DIY has got going on.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. So if anybody, you know, wants something to do on Friday, there you go. If you're already planning on going, you know, make sure to stop by, see the kitties, say hi, you know, maybe make a donation. Everybody would appreciate that. Beautiful. Well, Becca, is there any physical items that you guys need this week? You know, I always like to ask, like to make sure that the animals are taken care of. You guys have lots of supplies. So is there anything that, you know, somebody in the community could drop off to help out?
Yeah, I mean, like our kitten food is still a little bit lower, and the wet food as well, wet cat food. Again, like I've been saying the last couple weeks, our cats are flying through it right now. That's pretty much it. I mean, if anybody wants to donate anything for this handsome fella, they're more than welcome to. I think that's something that, you know, we've been kind of running into issues with because he needs a bigger tank. So he needs to find a tank that's a little bit bigger for him. So, but yeah, I mean, if you ever feel like wanting to bring some crickets or anything down for a treat for him, we're happy with that as well.
Well, there you go, everybody. So, you know, if you're in the market for some lizard food, if you're walking by, maybe pick it up, drop it off, some crickets and things. And obviously, you know, maybe if you're feeling extra special nice, if you want to, you know, make a donation so that Ember here can get a new tank, or perhaps you have a tank, you know, that might be sitting around the house that would work for Ember. There's, you know, nothing saying that you couldn't drop that off. And I'm sure Ember would love that, would greatly appreciate it. Well, that's unfortunately all the time we have this week, but I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank you, Becca. I want to thank Ember for stopping by once again, and we will speak with you all again next week.
Yes, for sure. We'll see you next week.
Manage your waste and recyclables with Quick Pick Waste Disposal. 100% locally owned and proud to serve and support the communities we call home. Quick Pick, the convenient solution to avoid pollution.
We're joined here today with author Nicole Fanning, who is a mafia romance author and actually has 2 books out now. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, can you tell us about these novels and what's all involved in them?
Absolutely. So as you said, they are mafia romance novels. And so they cover the story of Jackson Pace, who is the Don Supreme. He is the mafia lord over a group of mafia syndicates in Chicago. Who also happens to be a billionaire and hotel chain owner. And our female protagonist, who is Natalie Tyler, and she is a nurse. She's in Chicago because she's there for her cousin's wedding. And she just happens to be staying at one of Jackson's hotels. And in the process, she kind of thwarts this kidnapping of his daughter, and she stops it. And that kind of puts her in the path of this dangerous mafia lord. And he has just never met anyone like Natalie before. And he immediately is kind of on guard because he thinks that she's doing this for like an ulterior motive. And she's doing it just because she felt like it was the right thing to do. And because of the world that he lives in, this dark and dangerous kind of shadowy world, he just can't comprehend why someone would just do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. So he's just completely enamored with her. So the book basically in one kind of covers their relationship and him kind of wooing her and starting to let his guard down. And, you know, she's got some things she's working through too. I said she's there for her cousin's wedding. Her ex-fiance is actually the best man in that wedding. And so she's really struggling with the fact that she's in this forced proximity and her family doesn't know why the relationship ended. So they're kind of like nudging her to get back together with him, and she's just really not interested. So it kind of covers, you know, just their relationship. And, you know, the reason why it's called Catalyst is because they're both kind of a different catalyst in each other's lives. So.
And are these your first books to ever publish?
They are, yes, they are. The Heart of the Inferno series will be a trilogy, and they are my first books.
How has support been so far with these two new books?
Oh my gosh, it's been incredible. I really saw it kind of take off on TikTok. I've had the blessing of just some amazing fans and readership that are very vocal about how much they love the characters and the story. And, you know, your readership will really promote your books for you, you know, genuinely if they love the story. And I've been very fortunate in that sense. So yes, the response has been fantastic. So.
Now, with also being a best-selling author, you were also saying earlier that you do have a TikTok, that you do have quite a big following on there. What kind of content do you usually post? And would you say that the supporters from your TikTok page have helped out with your first books?
Absolutely. You know, I always said like I write for myself and I publish for others, and any success that Catalyst and Ignite have seen has been through the readership. And TikTok is kind of my main platform that I've, you know, been able to promote the books on. And so my content kind of varies. So I do some book content where I'm telling people about the books, but I also try to just do some goofy, like, this is who I am as a person content, you know, kind of let them in to see what author life is like, you know, what it's like being married. You know, there's a lot of content about my dogs on there. So it's just, it's kind of a mixed bag because I want anybody who's following and loving the story to also feel like they're getting to know me personally as well through that process. So, but yeah, no, the readers have really been what's propelled these books forward. So.
What's your plan now after publishing these two books? Are you going to be working on the next ones in the series?
Absolutely. So I have two right now. So we have Catalyst, which is the first, and we have Ignite, which is the second. And these will be a trilogy. So there's one more called Flashpoint that's due in the spring. And that's what I'm working on now. But ultimately, what I'm creating in this, you know, what I'm calling a mafia verse, it's going to be 12 books. So they will, you know, Catalyst, Ignite, and Flashpoint, this first trilogy will be like the heart of the series. That's why it's called Heart of the Inferno. And they kind of feature Jackson and Natalie's perspective alternating every other chapter. The other books in the series will see that main character perspective change. So we'll get to see some people who are side characters in these novels be the main character in the novels to come. And we'll still get, you know, some Jackson and Natalie content through that too, but they will be the side characters in those novels. So there's definitely big plans for the series. You know, when I started writing it, I wrote a whole big novel, a whole big binder of character backstory. So that's what kind of led me to be like, you know, maybe we could dive into these characters a little bit more and give a little bit more of their backstory. So it'll be fun.
For readers that may not be aware, where can they be able to purchase these books and just find more information about them?
Absolutely. So I'm available on Amazon, and the books are also, they're free on the Kindle store if you have Kindle Unlimited. So they're both available in ebook form and paperback form. Working on a hardcover form as well, because I've had that request. So there will be a hardcover form as well. But right now it's on Amazon. And if you are a Kindle Unlimited member, you can read them for free.
Perfect. Well, for all you readers out there that are a big fan of that mafia romance type genre, make sure to check out Nicole Fanning's new books. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News, and have a great rest of your night.